Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Lee and Me. I am Camille Miller, the host and founder of the Natural Life Business Partnership, a global network for soul-centered entrepreneurs. And with me is my co-host, Lee Grabarczyk of Soulful Mandelas out of Long Valley, New Jersey. Hi, Lee.
Hello, Camille.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So today we thought we would speak about mindset because I find that mindset is like the root of all good and evil.
Yeah,
It can make you, break you, what
yeah.
you believe. Go ahead.
I'm getting like this whole thing where you have this garden,
Yeah,
right? And it's all empty, and then you have your mindset. You bring it, and that's the seeds that get planted,
I like that. It's a
and that's what grows.
good visual. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the interesting thing is you can change your mindset,
Yeah,
right?
you can pull
That
out
changes your
plants,
reality.
certain things that you don't like. Maybe you just don't like the way that they look, taste, or smell, and maybe it's not the right feel. So you then put another plant in.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that idea.
continue change. Your mindset is adaptable and flexible,
Yeah.
and it also can be something that through mindfulness we're constantly looking at our garden and saying, is this what I want?
Yeah.
Is it satisfying what it is that I am about? Does this make me really feel good about myself? Does this give me a sense of serenity? Does it make me feel like I'm fulfilling my value? And all of that can be then adjusted, because then I can continue to go back into it, because whatever it is that I am thinking about is then created within the next seed set, and then I just put that in. So it is a very dynamic process. I think sometimes when people look at mindset, they look at it as a completely fixed thing, as something that is all predetermined and there's just no way out and all that other stuff. But then upon examination, reflection, and just making different choices, things can happen very quickly to really, really change things around.
Once you see it, and I think the
Yes.
the key is actually being open enough to recognize that maybe your mindset's kind of stuck.
Yeah,
I think there's so much resistance in people in all sorts of things. It could be the way you look, the way you feel, you know,
absolutely.
your and it's set really in your belief system, right? That
Absolutely.
and your subconscious, which is 95% of what you're doing, is on autopilot because it's been learned at a previous time in your life, and it's kind of set on, like money is evil, or I don't know.
Or I'm not worthy, or I'm not attractive, or I came from a background that doesn't allow success, or whatever this is just on the negatives, or maybe it's the opposite, where it's a different kind of problem, where it's entitlement, or I'm better than everybody else, so I don't have to play by the rules, or
Could
some
be
other
anything. Right.
sort.
Right. It's a belief system. And I wanted to talk about this subject because I'm currently in week 2 of an 8-week boot camp just on your money mindset. It's a big
Uh-huh.
piece of it, but people are coming out saying, oh my God, and some of the things that we talk about, like we're doing this week, it's all subconscious beliefs. And how did they get planted in the first place? And if we pull it apart, what are you finding? Right? And people are like, oh my God, I had no idea that I had such limiting
Yeah.
beliefs or ceilings in my thoughts. And I'm like, that's just it. You can't like, people do affirmations all the time. I was like, you can't just say affirmations and think that you're believing it. Because every time you say it, there could be a negative subset, or subconsciously you're doing, that's not true, that's not true. I'm just going to keep saying it. But your subconscious hears, that's not true, that's not true. you know,
Well, your actions definitely align with the thought. So if the thought is there, so let's say, for example, first of all, the key to having some kind, be able to be changed, to be able to change the outcome, is to be able to be teachable. So no matter what it is that I may believe, or how it is that I see myself, I do my best to be teachable, so that I can continue to progress in my awareness, in my understanding, because first of all, I'm just curious,
yeah.
and second of all, like, why would I just want to just be, I don't know, defending some kind of perspective when there may be something else that could be even better? Why would I want to get my wagons in some kind of wheel of defensiveness about things when there's a whole world out there that could be even better? And there's so many examples that I can see in my world without just looking at them as aspirational, that make me think, what would that be like? Or I would like to try that, or that would be really, really fun. So I have to be teachable to be able to have that, and then be mindful enough and be in a state of connectedness to my own process where I can honestly say what it is that I am experiencing without defensiveness, judgment, hostility. Say, I have this negative belief about money, or I have scarcity connected to money, or I have some other kind of underlying undeserving quality of money. And these things are so embedded into consciousness from, particularly like you were saying, through childhood stuff and my parents and how it is that they perceived it, and then that influences how I perceive it. And there's a lot of people who make an effort and then they give up and they say, well, this thing isn't working, so I have to, then that's part of how it is that they are also perceiving it. You had mentioned a long time ago about how most businesses, and I would actually say this is true of money too, most businesses fail right before they could have been successful. Right.
Yeah, 3 feet from gold, it's gold. Yeah. Right before they hit it big, most entrepreneurs quit.
Yeah, and this is, I think that the reason that this is so is because I have to be willing to be able to embrace being wrong, meaning that I may be making a mistake, so that I can then move on. So if I have had, if I've been making a decision, and I've been making my decision with defensiveness, and I've been saying I've been doing it. Now something comes along that really showcases how that doesn't work. Like that's not a viable solution.
Yeah.
Then I have to kind of look at my identity and say, well, wait a second, maybe my identity, or way that I'm perceiving this because of how I'm perceiving myself, which is how I'm understanding myself to be, is also off. So if that's off, then maybe there's more. And I think what happens is that this is, when we talked about this before, this is where people feel like they're dying. Like their whole sense of identity and their whole existence is now being brought into question. And that's why the phrase, would you rather be right or happy, comes in. Because there's a defensiveness about protecting the little fiefdom and the barricades that define identity as a way of maintaining existence, because without that, there's a feeling that I don't exist. And without that feeling of existence, I'm going to go into a tailspin and start flailing about. The reality is, though, that that's where I grow, because now I've shed my shell, I've shed my skin, and now I can continue to adapt into this greater space of consciousness that allows for a greater understanding, a greater fulfillment, if you would, of my worth, and a greater kind of joy and experience of knowing that not only was that possible, but because of it, other things are also possible.
Yeah, beautifully said. So we always bring up something called secondary gains when people want to stay in that victim place, or that lower threshold. I'm always telling people that when you're feeling uncomfortable, that's you hitting up against your ceiling of belief, right?
Yes.
That's your, I feel uncomfortable breaking through this. And then you always have to ask, well, is there a secondary gain? Is there something that you're gaining from staying where you are? And a lot of times there is, and that's interesting to explore for so many reasons. Sometimes when you're not making enough money, for say, I'm getting assistance, I can complain, I could, there's, I don't know what all the reasons are, but there's reasons of staying where you're comfortable, because you're comfortable. Right? And community changes. Yeah.
Right. And I would also say that in some cases, maybe, in that state, that is what works for them. And maybe that is actually a good solution in the sense that satisfies their needs, and great.
Yep.
If that's so, okay. But what I also think is, can be a problem here, this is also, what's interesting, we're kind of really focusing on money here, is that a lot of times when I have a certain amount of something, right? If I am being I have a certain amount of property, or I have a certain amount of money, or possessions or whatever. I can then, if I have a fear of scarcity, of abandonment or loss, my tendency is to not want to acquire any of things like that because I don't want to deal with another loss. So loss can actually be, this another way in which this expresses itself is that let's say I'm in a relationship, and the relationship is something that is terrifying to me because I can't stand them leaving me. So what do? I sabotage it and I leave them.
Self-sabotage.
Why? So I can maintain my authority. So I self-sabotage my success and my relationships so that I can maintain my authority, because it's better from that perspective, which is basically fearful, to have my ego and assertiveness and aggressiveness step up and do these kinds of actions as an expression of personal power, when really personal power comes from an allowing and surrendering and letting go.
Yeah.
This is such a distortion that exists, particularly with men. There's a lot of distortion connected to this.
Yeah. Self-sabotage is a big, big, big one. That's what we did week one. It's even recognizing what that looks like. So when you were talking about relationships, it doesn't have to be money, it could be anything, in relationships, and, you're blowing up, or you're changing it, or you're breaking up, and you're like, see, he didn't like me because I was fat. I knew I was fat. Like, you just reinforce whatever that is for you. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't worthy enough. I wasn't, it's totally your own mindset of your self-worth, what your issues are.
Yeah, the other thing is in the reflection, the mindfulness part of the mindset, is the patterns and consequences.
Yeah.
Patterns and what are the consequences?
Absolutely.
And if I'm not really paying attention, this is one of the big things in like Buddhism, which I just love. Like, are you a god? No. Are you are you an angel? No. Are you a man? No. What are you then? I'm awake. That's the Buddhist principle. And really it is, when I'm awake to what's going on. Not out there, per se. I mean, that's fine, because that's an extension of my own self, understanding. But what is going on in my decision making? And then when I do it, how do I respond to my own process? Do I judge myself? Like, oh, there you go again, you horrible person.
That's or mindful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mindful.
The mindful is, oh, that's what I've been doing. Okay, well, I'm going to do something else now.
Yeah.
Or I'm having real trouble with this. I'm going to ask for help. Mm-hmm. That is very, very, very powerful, because that says, not only am I saying that I'm teachable, I'm invoking that. So I am going to get a therapist, or join a 12-step group, or I'm going to go and get or I'm going to be working with you on some kind of, course in abundance. But something that comes in that I then invite in, and I can say, this is another way of using your power. I am powerful enough to be teachable. I am powerful enough to change. Yeah. And because I'm resilient and powerful, I adapt to the challenges of life that benefit not only myself, but everybody that I am connected to.
Yeah. I think it's great to turn it around to say, what lesson can I learn right now?
Yes.
When I'm angry, when I'm mad, when something's not going my way, to take that moment and just say, instead of resisting what's happening, what can I learn from this? And turn it around to a grateful moment.
Yeah, it's also like the thought of, it's very similar to what you just said, is, this is part of, and I mentioned this too, that the Unitarian Church has these, these banners, God is still speaking. Mm-hmm. Basically, I when I hit something, I'm like, okay, life, what are you trying to tell me? What is the message for me in it?
Yeah.
And just invite it in, just invite it in, because the messages are happening anyway. So why not be just an advocate for the truth of what's already been going on, instead of trying to resistance is futile, instead of trying to just resist it or defend against it, or try to project or blame or whatever, that doesn't get me anywhere. That just narrows the kind of domain within which I exist, and then it bolsters, it just intensifies the around my own, limited self-concept, if you would. And then anything that brushes up against that, I just end up zapping or just aggressively pushing away. And then that just makes me hard-hearted and hardened, and then less capable or flexible for better solutions.
Yeah, beautiful. I remember exactly where I was in the moment of when I realized, and it was a friend that brought it to my attention, that when you change your mindset, your whole world changes. And it was during my divorce, and it was a nasty one. It was very, very bad. And I remember being on the phone in a driving rainstorm. I was in Pennsylvania at the time, and I was hysterical about something that was happening. I don't remember what it was. And I called up my friend at the time, and I just couldn't, I don't know, get a hold of myself, I'm just oh my God, how am I going to survive? And him saying, it's just how you're looking at it. Let's look at it differently, and you're not the victim this time, right? Yeah. And you're not trapped in a situation, but you're getting out of a situation. You're freeing. Your life is new now. You're going to be in a new home and a new this and a new that, and look at it as a place of freedom instead of a place of being trapped. I don't even remember what the situation was. And that little switch in my head changed from that moment on. My entire divorce proceeding was different, because I never again looked at myself as being trapped in a situation, but getting freed from a situation.
Yes.
It was a totally different mindset, which, brought me deeper spiritually, but just realized that, oh my God, I was creating my own reality. I was creating this scenario in my head, and then, everything in the universe comes together to make that happen. But if I just created this other reality, the universe would also come together to make that happen. And it was such a different way of looking at everything. And I remember the exact moment where it just switched for me. And I always, if I'm in a bad situation, always just say, okay, this is my own reality. I'm creating this. This is not what's actually happening.
And the other thing too, that comes up for me when you're saying this is an opportunity.
Oh yeah. I'm just be curious about everything. I say this often, that I'm a recovering control addict, because I used to have to control everything, right? I couldn't control it. I couldn't control what was happening.
Yeah.
And now I'm just we'll see what happens. Isn't it exciting? And I do that with my kids now, and then it drives them nuts. But even with the whole COVID thing that we're stuck in, we really don't know what the fall's I don't know if my kids are going to college. I don't know. And I was we'll see. Whatever happens, we'll figure it out. Let's just go with it. We'll figure it out when we get there. It's easier to respond than to try to control.
There's we were talking about opportunities too, how even with COVID, COVID is, for us, it's an opportunity to kind of do the work that we're doing, which is really lovely, and how we connect to it. But one of the things that we were talking about for the people, joining us here, prior to this, we're talking about Course in Miracles, and I was sharing with Camille how the authors of the Course of Miracles, or Course in Miracles, was man and woman that were both frustrated psychotherapists in New York, who really were at their wits' end as to what to do. They were just this just is terrible. This is just horrible what we're up against. We got to do something. We don't know what though. And that minor intention led to that book, that little teeny opening. I'm just questioning, what can I do?
Yeah.
What is the Kennedy speech? Ask not what what you can do for ask not what your country you believe for your country. That part of our solution-based thinking, that wasn't some kind of exploitation of people. That was looking at people as opportunity to what it is that they wanted to succeed in. These kinds of perspectives like you were saying, the shift in perspective changes the entire experience because it shadows it in a totally different light. And that light then brings with it all of the things that are in alignment with that point of view. So if my mind is set towards the abundance, abundance is all I see, abundance is all I create. If my mind is set towards that thing about love, then that's what I'm going to see and that's what I'm going to create. Whatever my trajectory or wherever my ship, if you would, is directed, or my as I'm traveling through life, whatever the direction happens to be in my little GPS system, it can be seen in my intention and my beliefs and how it is that I then fulfill that. So, and if I'm having a bad day, so let's say that I'm hitting a roadblock of a lot of problems, I can say, wow, I'm really angry right now and I need to just relax. Yeah. Or really been I'm very controlling and defensive because I haven't gotten past something that was bothering me. I need to let go of it. I'm going to take a moment and breathe this out as best I can and reset. So all of those things that happen to us, no matter good, bad, or whatever, are opportunities to look at ourselves and say, is this working for me? And if it is, great. But if it isn't, then what do I want to do about it? Knowing that knowing that I can do something about it. And then as a teachable person, finding the institutions or other kinds of perspectives or entertaining them just on my own that allow for that outcome.
Beautiful. And I think one more just mindset exercise is, if you want love, see love all around you. Notice it everywhere. Yes. Just bring it towards you. If you want money, notice it everywhere. Not in lack of, like, they have it and I don't, but in a beautiful way. Like, oh, I got a discount today. I saved this. I have this in my account. I'm paying all my bills. I'm not in debt. I'm getting there. I paid, same with love. People are always like, I'm looking for him. I can't find my partner. Then just notice love in everybody else. Notice your friends, yes. Notice your parents, or whatever works for you. Just notice it everywhere, and that's what you start to attract. It's just like when you want to buy the white car and you see a white car everywhere. Oh, there's one. What should I buy? Well, it's because it's on your mind, so it's attracting you. So
absolutely.
What you notice.
And the other thing, I usually these things that you bring up, it's just so fascinating because it just expands out. But the Course in Miracles also talks about the price for giving is receiving. So the price for giving is receiving. What does that mean? It means that, like you were saying, if I want love, give love. I don't care how bad things are, because I know that I've had bad. I've had my moments. But when I'm in that, if I can remember what act of generosity can I do? That's why tithing is such a huge thing. It's not just some kind of, some kind of manipulation from the church. It's actually a mindset of abundance. Yeah. When we do things out of our own selflessness, that's a sign of abundance. When we love and we're kind or forgive, or when we create, or when we extend and support and nurture, whatever that is, that's how we get that for ourselves. You don't get that. You have to create. It's important to create the context, or as you would say, the mindset of this, so that we're in the same frame of thinking that is then echoing back to us. So the mindset, the frame of this mindset is the allowing of that intention to whatever it is that I'm thinking or expressing.
Absolutely. Beautiful. We're going to end on that note today. So, if you love this episode of Lee and Me, please share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to our channels. If there's something you'd like us to talk about, you can contact us at thenaturallife.org on the Contact Us page and let us know what you think. Thanks, Lee, for another fantastic episode.
Thank you, Camille.
Bye-bye.